Welcome back, everybody, to another Dokkan Digest, where I take all the news, drama, and fun from the community, and I bring it over here to you guys on YouTube. A couple nights ago on stream, I talked about one of Dokkan Battle's most controversial topics with my two co-hosts for my new show that I have just created, Dokkan Digest Live. With that said, private servers have been a very controversial thing within the Dokkan Battle community for one reason and one reason alone, and that has to do with Mr. DaTruthDT himself. But instead of talking about the same old, we have decided to talk about things outside of the scope of the game. We are talking about private servers and the effect they have on the YouTube landscape. And there's some pretty interesting questions. This time there are some pretty interesting questions. Last time I asked this, I just got a bunch of like fart and stupid comments. Okay, so Spectre says, what is your honest take on Dokkan private servers and their effect on the original game and the community? I don't give a shit about private servers. My only gripe with people who use private servers is there's a lot of people here who, and some of them know who they are, but there are a lot of people here who specifically only ever use private servers. They don't play the real game. They don't care to because they just have access to everything. That's my biggest issue. If you're playing the real game like pretty actively, like you're always link leveling, you're always summoning, you know, especially if you've spent money on the game and you hop on private servers, I see no issue with that. You're still supporting the main game and you're testing out new units. I don't think that's an issue. Howard, what do you think?
I'm gonna let Beyond speak on that first because I have quite a mouthful to say about that.
Oh yeah, Beyond, go ahead, say something, anything this podcast.
Shut up. I don't know. I feel like you really gotta be like, it's hard. It's such a nuanced thing. Wow, I am saying a whole lot of nothing right now.
Nothing, you're yapping right now. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I'm yapping, bro. I feel like you go one way or the other. You can't like private servers. Or you can't use private servers and then complain about everyone else using them. Like the way Truth presents himself in terms of private servers, I think it's just hypocritical. Yeah.
But would you say it's justified given how much he spent on the game and how much time he puts into it?
I think it's, I mean, he's gonna get the units rainbowed. I know he needs the content early, but he just needs to stop complaining that people use it too. Like, I don't get it. I just don't get why he's so double-edged about it.
Rolls molding. Oh my god.
I'm molding right now, dude.
I don't know. I feel like he's justified in that. Although I will say I think he might go a little too far sometimes. But I think Truth has a very skewed perspective on them because he thinks it affects the game heavily. But like if you go through most of the discords or things like that, it's not even like anywhere near the actual community or the actual fan base. Right, like, are there very many Japanese players on private servers right now? And Japan makes up most of Dokkan. Like, it's insane how much Japan makes up of Dokkan. There's, let's say there's like 250 million players right now. I don't know, something close to that. And then there's like maybe 50,000 on private servers, 50,000, maybe 100,000. That's still not anywhere near as many players who actually play the game.
Okay, but that's not the issue. There are issues with the private server, and that's coming from me, and I'm someone that uses it.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing about it affecting the game, there are a lot of people that have the standpoint that I am free to play, I am not going to spend money on the game, I'm never going to spend money on the game. So if I use the private server, they are not losing money from me because they were never going to get it to begin with. That is wrong. There is a statistic for them as a game that provides a live service for screen time from players. So even the people that don't pay anything to play Dokkan at all, if you are giving them more screen time, if you are playing their game, they are getting paid more. They literally make more money off of you if you just play the game. Spending or not. Free-to-play players are important, and Truth has said that very many times before.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, they're not as important as whales because whales give them the most money, and it is a business. They have to make money. There's no way around it. If they didn't make money, we wouldn't have a game.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that free-to-play players aren't important. You being on the game matters.
Yeah.
If private server is taking you away from the game, it is costing them money. And
well,
it might not be a whole, but if someone took money out of your wallet, even if it was a couple dollars, would you not just want your shit back? Like, it's yours.
Right. No, I get it, man. Like, that's what I said. I don't think private servers are a bad thing if players who use private servers are consistently and actively playing the game and have spent money on the game, right? Like, I am somebody who actively plays Dokkan, like, literally most of my day. Like, I think I spend, like, maybe 15 hours on my phone just playing Dokkan alone, right? Like
Yeah.
throughout work and stuff like that. If you're doing that and you play on private server, there's no issue there because you're consistently putting in screen time and you're spending money on the game. Like there's no issue with private servers then. And I think that's something that I feel like Truth would do well understanding. I don't know.
Well, Truth does understand that because when we talk about it in the group chat, anytime I present anything to him or say anything about the private server, never once has he tried to like, this guy uses the private server to me ever.
Yeah, but he does
I
it to
don't think
me.
about it.
He does it to me though.
Well,
And
yeah, because you don't spend money on the game like I do.
I don't spend. Well, that doesn't matter though. We just had the discussion of like private or
Well,
whether I spend money on the game, but I don't spend like thousands on the game for sure. But
Well,
I still
yeah,
spend.
but that's the thing. I do, and it's not like the difference is that no matter what for Dokkan, I'm not someone that skips banners. They're making money off of me, like a lot, on
Mhm.
every banner, no matter what. So
Right.
if I'm testing anything ever, they're still getting their money out of me. You could go test something, not like it, and then decide to skip because something else is coming, which is fine. Most
Wait,
people do.
Wait, hold on. I just want to clarify. I summoned on every single banner last year. I did not skip a single banner. So I mean, I'm in the same spot. I put in so much. Like I said, I put in like 15 hours a day on Dokkan myself. Like
You didn't
that
skip a
amount of-
single.
not a single banner. I don't think. I think the only banner I
mean-
might have. I think the only banner I might have not summoned nearly as heavy on was probably Sand Trio. I think that was about it. That was the only one I didn't really summon super heavily on.
So you threw some stones at Omega and Super Trunks, yeah?
Sure did. I mean, that's why I have them.
Sure did.
STR 18 and AGL Mamba.
Yep.
Yep.
That's why I have them.
That's why I have STR18.
Yeah. Howard, I
Well,
spent
think about
I didn't skip a single and we were like I said, playtime is just as important as spending. Well, it's about as important as spending money. If they see that if there's one person spending $1 billion right on Dokkan or something like that, right, they're not gonna keep the game fucking open. There's not enough people to warrant the servers being up. Like they're just, it doesn't matter. Playtime is pretty important, and I put in a lot of playtime on Dokkan. Whether I spend thousands of dollars on it or not, like I think my opinion on private servers is just as valid as yours would be.
I mean, yeah, sure, but the difference is that I'm not someone that bitches about the private server or talks about it. Like Vector, for example, in the GC, he's always like, he uses the private server, and then Truth will get on him, and then Vector will send him a video of him testing shit, and he'll be like, "Duh, this you?" And then they get into a fucking debate about it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, the difference there is that Vector actually pays money to use that private server.
Mm-hmm.
Money he could be putting into the actual game. That
Yeah,
not.
into the actual video game.
Well, yeah, that's that's another issue I have with them, right? If private servers are being monetized, and I get it, like servers aren't free, especially the person who has it open, they need to keep that server open somehow, right? So them getting some sort of monetary thing, I feel like makes sense, right? But like,
It doesn't make sense though, because they're officially illegally monetizing an IP that they don't have rights to.
Oh, for sure. No, definitely. I get
I
that.
don't give a shit if they're running a server or not. Like, yeah, you have to have the private server open. You have to have your own like cloud server where you're keeping it online. But like,
Yeah.
If you're doing that, then you need to do it as a passion, and you need to pay for it out of your pocket. You cannot sit here and monetize these fucking.
Or at the very least, get something monetized that isn't related to the private server. Like do something to help you monetize the private server, not monetize the private server itself. I feel like is the best way of doing that. Like opening up a YouTube channel or something like that, or like a Patreon for like where you provide people content. Or something. Don't just monetize a private server. I think that's bad.
That's fine, but they're like literally illegally monetizing the private server, and there are people that pay for it. Vector spends money on the actual game, and he still chooses to spend money on the private server. Why? I will truly never know, because everyone that runs those private servers, they're bad people. It's no fucking like, no one's under any illusion.
Right.
We see it. Like we're all in the Entropy Discord, whether we actually fucking partake in it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think since I've been in that Entropy Discord, I have seen maybe 6 or 7 different people get canceled,
Yeah.
and I've been in it for 2.5, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it happens all the time. Like, none of those people are worth giving your money to. They're
Yeah,
not.
I agree. No, I agree for sure.
Game.
Yeah. Save
but-
your money for the actual game if you're going to spend anything on the game. I mean, if you're going to spend on Dokkan anyway, it might as well be the game, right? Like that makes I get what you guys are saying. I get it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, okay, if you're gonna spend like $3 or $4 on the private server to unlock things that are already free to do in the base game, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Pay like $4 to use the hidden potential system in the private server.
If private servers went down, if private servers ended, would y'all be for it? I like the fact that private servers can exist, like for any game. If there's an online game exclusive and those servers shut down, and like, you know, the community opens up a private server going through that, I love that shit. Keeping the games that I like alive is really huge. I think when it comes to the Dokkan Battle community though, we use private servers the wrong way. It's not a way to keep the game alive. It's a way to make people who run private servers make money. That's about it. Or like, you know, post like a clip on Twitter and then like ruin a unit's showcase, right? It's not really a way to keep the game alive. It's more so just like a tool for like free-to-play players to test units.
That's the main thing that is a grievance, is that there are a lot of people that do not actually understand how a single thing works in Dokkan. They just see big numbers and assume good. And like, that's just not it. Like the amount of people that I've seen take my calc posts and then just post them somewhere else and then try to push their agenda, and I read what they're saying and it's just like completely ass backwards incorrect. It happens maybe once a week. I see it all the time and it's rough. And then these kids go on the private server and, you know, attempt limits do exist, whether you have an opinion of them or not, good or bad, they exist.
Yeah.
Them not existing on the private server means you can just jump in and sit there for an hour and spam attempts until you get a unit to look really good one time.
Yeah.
And then you can take that one clip and you can push an agenda for fucking months off of it.
Yeah. Here's let me address chat really quick. There's some stuff that's happening in there that I think is pretty interesting. So, maybe as you say, Patreon is better. I know that's how Dokkan Entropy did it. I'm not saying use Patreon as a way to pay. Like, okay, if you're going to open up a Patreon, right, and it's something to keep like a private server open or something, right? Don't just let the private server be the content that the players are getting, right? Like the private server should be a thing that you pull money out of your pocket for, that you've earned, right? It's not just a way for players to test out units. That they can, the things that they can do in game for free, like Howard said, that's stupid. It should be, I open up a Patreon, you know, or like a separate little thing outside of the private server. I put content out. I do things to like help, you know, make my community a little bit larger or like keep my community. And the people who provide me with the money every month, I'm going to put like some of that money into, you know, the private server to keep it up, right? That's how most people do it, especially in like, you know, the general gaming sense. There was a game that, there was a game that had like a private server online for like a while just to keep the game alive, and then like Facebook shut it down. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like some ball game. And those people aren't like monetizing that per se. It's more so just, you know, something outside of that they use to help fund the private server. So the Dokkan Entropy and KX and those guys, they do it. They don't really do it the proper way. I feel like it is just money going directly into their pocket, and then also keeping the private server up as well. That's what I meant by opening up a Patreon, not like making the Patreon specifically about Entropy. And for me, it wouldn't change anything. I do not use and never have used private servers. Yeah. I don't really use them often. I only really ever use them on stream. All I've heard was shady people run these. Yeah, they do. They really do. There's some pretty shady people there. I thought about making videos on it, but I've decided not to. I want to.
That's a good point.
What's up?
He said it's also rough on content when everyone can do 100% showcases. So I can't tell them about the thing. and why a certain person quit because of them. But they have made actual content creators that are integral to Dokkan quit making content on Dokkan because you know they summon and then they go and use that unit to do fun stuff, but it doesn't matter because Dokkan World already put out a fucking video about everything the unit could ever dream of doing in every setting ever, and it takes all the fun out of it. Literally all of the fun. Like, content creators don't want to do that. Truth has said very many times he doesn't like doing early showcases, but Dokkan content creation on this platform is his job. If he's not doing something someone else is doing for Dokkan, then he's losing out and he's losing money.
Thank you for the $10, Gigathad. Go bald now. You can afford it, bottom.
They called you a bottom and then
Yeah, we're not going bald, buddy. Thanks for the 10 though. Thanks.
Oh,
Bottom
crazy.
is nuts, man.
He owns you.
I think
But-
the death of private servers would be an exclusively positive thing.
I don't think it would be an
Yeah.
exclusively positive thing, because if Dokkan dies, I mean, okay, private servers are good for keeping a game alive, or like a community alive, right? That's why
But
I
that's
think
not
private
what
servers are great.
That's not what Dokkan private servers are doing.
I know that's not what they're doing, but they should, and if
As
they did do it that
exist-
way,
I mean, as they exist now,
Go
Dokkan
bold.
private
You can
servers,
afford it.
like,
Bottom.
it would be good if they didn't exist.
Yeah.
As
Okay.
they exist now.
And here's another thing about private servers and content creation. It has made the barrier to entry for like becoming a Dokkan YouTuber a lot higher. That's why you see so many more nowadays. But like, most people don't really watch random people on YouTube anyway. I feel like a lot of that is just, you know, if you're going for like a showcase video, like it's mostly DaTruthDT and, I mean, Dokkan World, right? Those are the two biggest ones. And then there's if you're like looking for like fun content that kind of like puts a spin on the Dokkan formula, there's like NanoGenix, and then there's also, you know, NanoGenix, Nichigo, and then there's Diddysauce as well. Like, Diddysauce would probably be the pioneer of that, right? He did a lot of really interesting stuff. But you know, just I don't feel like most people are going to go to like a random guy on YouTube and be like, oh yeah, this is you know, this is what I want out of content, right? Like a private server 100% showcase video. Most people aren't going to go for that unless you're Dokkan World. So I think the barrier of entry for like, I think private server early showcases are definitely like a little bit of a hindrance when it comes to YouTube, but most people aren't doing like instant uploads like DaTruthDT does, or like, I mean, Dokkan World is probably DaTruth's biggest competition when it comes to that.
But there is something you have to consider, and this is supported by numbers. Truth spends all the money he does on the game to have the account he does to make the content he does. Dokkan World can literally make the same content without spending a single dime, and he's actually getting like he's getting kind of like views relative to what Truth is getting. Like, I'm looking at it right now. He uploaded his Super Saiyan Vegeta video, Dokkan World, 168k subs.
Mm-hmm.
He has 100k views. Truth's Vegeta video has 106k views, and he has almost triple his subs.
Mm-hmm.
But they have like the same amount of views. Now, guess who's gonna spend thousands of dollars on Vegeta, and guess who isn't?
Yeah, I get that part. I get that frustration. That is a massive frustration, I'm sure. I mean, it's not one I can. That's not really one I can relate to, because I don't go through that like Truth does. But like, my content is completely different.
I mean, yeah, but you still have to consider it from a perspective, right? Like okay, when you do like Dokkan Archives, you have to sit there and like fucking begrudgingly gain all this information about shit, and then, you know, you go through your process of making your video. What if someone just had like access to something that just did all of that work for them, and literally all they had to do was just go to the video, and they were just getting as many views as you with like nowhere near as many subscribers? Like, it's frustrating.
Yeah, I get that. No, it is. It's like I said, I get that, but I don't understand that specific struggle, right? Like, I mean, Truth is a different monster by himself, right? He wakes up at like 4 a.m. and like or like 1 a.m. sometimes, and uploads like 7 videos at that point, right? Like, I don't get that struggle. Like, that's completely different. That's something I can't understand.
I think that's what needs to be talked about more. Is not like, whoa, why does Truth hate on the private servers? I think these people need to understand that it's not their job. They're not getting infringed upon by the fucking private server. Truth is like YouTube is not forgiving when it comes to the algorithm. YouTube's not forgiving when it comes to making money. Like, it's the same as Twitch. You literally have to be lucky on these platforms to even blow up in the first place. Keeping your stuff consistent and giving people what they want to see, what your viewer base is used to, and giving it to them first, especially when you like have competitors in your niche, like you have to do that.
Yeah, especially in the Dokkan community, especially in the Dokkan. Like that's why I understand his. I really understand his frustration to a degree, and I've always defended that, right? Like I get it. Like, you know, if someone is able to drop a video, like if Truth waited, okay, right now, if Truth waited to do a showcase video on Vegeta, he would be 4 days late. Everyone, like the views on that video would do so much worse than like a Dokkan World video because he waited. Yeah, exactly. Like and like when Dokkan units age out as quickly as they do nowadays, like it makes sense why it's an even bigger frustration right now. But like I said, also DeFreak owns you, Fraudney. Okay, get that. Thanks for the 5. Thanks for the 5, man. Rude. Exactly. I would be frustrated if I was Truth. Yeah, Truth has a very valid reason to be frustrated. I get it. I really do about private servers. Like I'm not gonna. Yeah.
But then people sit here and they're like, well, why is he so harsh on the private servers? I just don't understand. And it's like, yeah, man, you don't understand because it's not affecting your livelihood. Like you actually factually will never understand that specific thing because it will never apply to you in that sense.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of, thoughts on farm bots, like as in, oh, you mean like YouTube wise, like content farms? I think it's I mean, I think there's a very specific thing that they're going for, a very specific audience that they're going for, like 2-year-old babies or toddlers or whatever. I think that I don't really, I don't know. I'm not competing with them, so. What'd you say?
I don't think that's what he's referring to because the context is us talking about how hard Truth works to do shit just for other people to kind of just cheat and do it better.
Are you talking about in Dokkan specifically, Nichigo? Because if
imagine how many of these people have like, you know, all of these units with their level 10 links and they're like near Truth's power level or beyond it or something, and they've been using like an auto clicker the whole time where Truth isn't doing that and he's actually working to get that shit and they just kind of dog him.
Well, okay, but let me think. How would farm bots really affect him? Like on YouTube.
It's not about affecting him though. It's just that's just for the context. That's an example, but like these bots don't just farm link levels. I mean, they literally will go into like difficult content and they'll do it in like a minute.
Didn't they establish like an anti-cheat? So is that still a thing? Can people still do that?
That's still a thing. People just find workarounds.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that was still even anywhere near as prevalent as I thought. Okay.
Yeah, dude. You've been seeing Iggy's fucking struggles in the GC with that super bosses mission against the red zone like battle road thing or the boss rush.
Right.
And imagine you're in that situation where you're consistently trying to do something with your own account, getting in there, like really getting into it. And then someone's like, "Oh yeah, I pressed a button and I beat that event in 2 minutes. You suck."
Yeah. Cool. Valid point. I enjoy Dokkan World showcases a bit more because he's more no nonsense, occasional Raditz theme, and lower case memes. Well, okay. This might come off like the wrong way. I'm not a fan of like content where it's just straight up gameplay and there's no voice, no webcam, no nothing.
I'm not a fan of content with no personality.
Well, okay, that's rude.
With minimal personality.
Okay, here's what my point is. Like, I just don't think that content is engaging to me. Like, even if they add memes or whatever to it, it's just me watching gameplay happen. Like, I'm pretty sure Dokkan World doesn't talk. There's no webcam. There's like no, like, and I'm not dissing. What works for Dokkan World works for Dokkan World. It's not my kind of content. Like I'm going to a Truth video before I go to a Dokkan World video.
Yeah, and I mean that's understandable. That reflects in their subscribers, but you also still have to realize 168,000 subscribers having videos with 100K views in less than 24 hours. That is that dude's livelihood. He does not have to work a 9 to 5 anymore, and it's because of a Dokkan private server. He doesn't have to talk. There's no face cam. He just kinda got,
It's damn lucrative. That's for sure. It's hella
he just
lucrative.
got in his bag the
Yeah.
easiest possible way to, and he flourished. He never
Yeah.
has to work again.
Hardly. Yeah, and I'm not calling it lazy. I'm not calling the content lazy because as soon as the units drop, he's there making multiple different videos, right? Like I'm not gonna call it lazy content, but it's just not engaging content to me. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, he goes out there and he records it. He does everything. He goes into the events and he gets all the footage. Like, it's not lazy. It's just the fact that he essentially had like the easiest path to making the content he's making, and he took it. And there's nothing wrong with it. I've told you before, like, I don't care what kind of content you're making. Go chase your bag. If anyone can get out of the realm of having to work a shitty job and they can get into just doing YouTube for it, I honestly, as long as you're not being a bad person, I don't give a shit how you're doing it. Dokkan World, I hope he uploads more. I hope he gets more in his bag. I want more people to watch his shit. I want more people to watch everybody's shit. That's just how it is. But like, there's no other way to say it. Truth worked harder to get in the spot he's at, whereas Dokkan World literally didn't have to. And it's nice that he didn't have to, but he didn't have to.
Oh, does Halvard need to turn up his audio? Here, I'll just do this. I'll do that. Okay. I didn't know Halvard was so low. I sure hope he wasn't low the entire time. Private servers. Oh, you should be good now. You're like way up in the yellow. You should be good. Private servers used for fun is fine. Used for content, however, is where problems open up. It just makes the content like I said, it just makes the barrier to entry for content creation on Dokkan Battle really easy. Like that's all. Like there's so many more Dokkan Battle content creators than there like were before. Like that's because of private servers.
And I mean, it's not a bad thing, because like at the end of the day, you're watching content creators for the content creator. Like half of what you're watching for is the content. The other half is the personality attached to what you're watching.
Yeah.
Like if someone's just a drone, you're probably not gonna care. Like people go to the Dokkan World videos because they want to see what the unit's doing, big numbers. But like, I don't know what his like audience retention is for his videos, but I would imagine there's probably a good bit of people that'll just go in there and like skip to find the big number and then just see what it is.
Yeah. I think we'll talk a little bit. Well, I'll finish reading these comments and we'll move on to a different question from this tweet here. We've been on this topic for a while. This has been like a 30-minute discussion or something like that.
It's an important topic.
Yeah, it is. It is an important one. I especially when you bring up content creation, it's really important. But
yeah, I want to address one thing that is in chat before we move on though, and it is where'd it go? Okay, here it is. Someone said, Spectre, I agree, it's understandable how he acts, but I don't know, it feels a little like a tad rude, right? And he said exactly, he's projecting a vibe that only he can use the private servers, nobody else. And fuck you if you do, or post something from a server on Twitter. Like what? He's not the Dokkan police. So, Truth originally was not like that. The reason he is like that is exactly what we just explained, that it only affects him in the true negative way that it affects him. It's not going to affect any of us like that. It's not going to affect anybody else like that. It's only going to affect him. But people tried to treat it as if they were being affected the same way he was, and then it told him that it's not a big deal. So he's just kind of had to deal with people telling him for how long now? Years, that his complaints just aren't valid when they don't actually understand his complaints. So yeah, he's probably just going to be an asshole about it at this point because that's what the community earned from him. Like, oh well, there's nothing I can really tell you about it. Like, oh well.
And honestly, being to me, it's always come off as like jokey, but unless someone's like an actual like asshole to him. But other than that, he's not even really like that. Someone will bring it up. It'll mostly be Vector or like some guy who posts a clip on Twitter and he just hops in. He's like, "Hey, private server doesn't count." Right? That's always like jokey to me. Unless someone's being a dick to him, he's not really being too much of a dick about it. Like he talks about it a lot. And like obviously there's a lot of frustration behind the words he says, but it's not He's never really like mean to people because of private servers, unless they're like just a genuine asshole.
never. Yeah, he is actually frustrated. Like
Yeah.
there's no way around it. He is legitimately like upset about it. But
Mhm.
it's not to a point where he's going to treat people differently. But like, if they saw the way that he talks to us in the GC,
Yeah.
they would think he's like a demon. But like, no, that's just how Truth talks to people, dude. Like, he'll call you a bitch, he'll call you a rat,
A dumb
but he's
fuck.
playing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just being a
but he's
jokester.
playing
Yeah.
with you. He doesn't care. It's just like I feel like some people might not understand that it's joking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Sarcasm and like, so not sarcasm, but like, you know, tone is a lot harder to read on the internet. So that makes sense.
Yeah,
if you're
dumb.
Yeah, if you're stupid. Yeah, exactly.